What's up everyone? I hope you're having an awesome day. I'm very excited because today I have a couple of Dollar Tree DIYs that I think turned out fantastic and I think you're gonna love. So let's just dive right in. It's great to have you back. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Jorge, and of course, I love making Dollar Tree DIYs. Now, my goal for these is for these to look and hopefully feel high-end. Now, I'm going for things that are more minimal, more modern, and not look like they were DIY'd. And if that's something you're looking for, just keep watching. Also, hit that subscribe button because let me tell you, there are more coming. Let's just jump right in. Now, if you have not seen these before, you must run and go get them now. Well, after you watch the video. But these candle holders are spectacular. Look at these almost like a amber glass colored candle holders. Have a little bit like a silver, but not so much. These look more expensive than they cost, so definitely stock up on these. So I'm going to be using these to create some cool candle holders that I'm actually inspired by Anthropologie. Now I've had these in my cart for a while now, but they're kind of expensive. I'm not sure if the candles smell good. I'm sure they smell fantastic, but I really like the design of the candle holder itself. And as you can see, it's like sort of this like colored glass, and then it has a stone base. So I thought I would use these for that. For the base, I'm thinking I'm going to use these candle holders, which are also fantastic. These come in different colors. They're glass. What's great about this is they serve like as taper candles and then holders, and then on the other side you can use votives. I'm going to use these for the base. I'm not sure how I'm going to make them look like stone, but I'm sure I figured it out and you will see that in a moment. I do not like the look of faux marble or anything like that, but since this project is small scale, I think it's alright. It's not a whole tabletop or anything. So to do this, I'm going to be using some paint. I'm going to use this spray paint that is in well, I thought it was a semi-gloss, but it turned out to be flat, which I actually prefer because I really like the look of matte stone, more of a honed finish. And I gave this one entire coat and let dry before proceeding on to the marble effect. Once that first coat of paint was fully dried, now it's time to make this look like marble. And in order to do that, I have to make some veins because marble has this beautiful vein effect to it. And so I placed these candle holders on these plastic cups just to prevent all the paint that I'm going to be adding from puddling at the bottom. Now, to create the veins, I'm going to use some nail polish, and this nail polish is a dark gray that you can pretty much find anywhere at your Dollar Tree or maybe other stores for pretty inexpensive. And my first attempt was to basically just paint the veins on there. Now, you will notice that I'm using this toothpick just to create more fine lines. And honestly, this didn't look that bad, but I wasn't really in love with the effect that it was creating. Again, I'm trying to make this look as natural as possible. At first I would just paint it on there, but it would dry way too quickly for some reason and it would not look natural. It would look hand painted. I even tried blowing it with a straw, but clearly that did not work. So let me show you what actually worked in the end. So you actually got to work quickly for this, and what you have to do is apply the nail polish sort of like a vein. Even if it's thick, it's alright, and then quickly spray paint that over it. Get your toothpick and quickly make that vein. And honestly, you can see how it kind of looks more natural this way because it sort of just bleeds together, those two paint colors. And I think it creates a really awesome effect that almost looks real. And so I basically did this for the rest of the candle holders here. And even if I messed up or something like that, you can always spray paint over it, so it's not a big deal. In fact, it starts to create more dimension to it, and I think it turned out fantastic. I also want to mention that make sure you're in a well ventilated area and or are wearing a mask because the fumes of this is kind of strong. Also, Dollar Tree does carry acrylic paint in case you want to do this with that as well. Now I let that dry fully before gluing the two together. You can also seal this if you would like with maybe some polyacrylic or something like that. Now I would highly recommend E6000 because that creates a really strong bond. In this case I did not have any on hand, so I'm just going to use some hot glue, which worked out fine. So let's take a look at the final result. So what does a toilet plunger and a food plastic container have in common? Absolutely nothing. But I'm going to use the two together to create a toilet paper holder. Now I've seen something similar like this online. It's probably been DIY'd a couple times before, but that's alright because I thought we could do this using Dollar Tree items. Now we won't need this toilet plunger. We don't need this thing right here. We just want that wooden dowel and a Tupperware container that has a lid on it because we will use it to hold the dowel. And we're going to use some cement, and cement is, you guys, cement is really affordable. I think it's like $3 or $4 at Home Depot. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you how to make this. So this is actually pretty simple to do. So I'm essentially going to cut a little X in the center here using my utility knife. Side note, they actually sell some at Dollar Tree, which are actually pretty great. They got me through architecture school. And I'm going to create this little X here, and that will essentially hold the dowel in place while the cement cures. Now I kind of split this, but that's alright as long as the lid doesn't break off completely. So just be careful. I use this scrap piece of wood to cut on. You can also use a cutting mat and basically kind of just like poke into it, test it out, and put the dowel in just to see if you get a tight fit. As you can see here, it worked out pretty fine. It does not have to be perfect as long as it holds the dowel in place. Now, if you haven't worked with concrete before, don't worry, it's actually quite simple. Now I took some of my mixture here and I'm actually using cement all. This one does not have aggregate, but I don't think it really matters. And basically you want to create a pancake batter-like mixture. And so just add some water and mix it here. You don't need a fancy mixer or anything like that. You can just use a stick or maybe a large spoon and sort of just mix it. Now you have to work rather quickly because this cures pretty quickly. So mix it as fast as you can and then basically just pour it onto the container. Now some people like to apply like WD-40 or some oil just so that it doesn't stick. I probably would have done that, but I honestly forgot and it worked out fine in the end for me. You probably want an inch thickness, just enough that it holds onto the dowel, and then put the lid back on there. And also before you do that, I always like to tap it just because I want to release those air bubbles. And so like I said, put that lid back on there, make sure that the dowel is nice and straight, and leave it alone per the instructions of the cement. For me, it was about an hour, but I just left it overnight. I'm not gonna lie, I get very nervous every time I'm going to remove the hardened cement from the mold. I don't know why, maybe I'm scared it didn't work out, but there's nothing to worry because it turned out to be fine. I kind of went and jiggled the sides here just to release the cement a lot easier. Twist that off and look at that. It came off nice and easy. I think it turned out pretty fine. The edges were a little bit rough. They could have been a little bit nicer. So I'm just going to go ahead and just lightly sand with 180 grit sandpaper here. Just be gentle and not take off too much of the edges like I did. It could have been a lot nicer, but that's all right. So I definitely recommend you applying a sealant on this, maybe some polyacrylic or something like that. Now for the dowel, I could just leave it natural, but I had some leftover coffee, so I'm just going to give it a light coat of this just to give it a little bit of texture, or not texture, just like, what is it called? Stain. That's what it is. Just be careful not to get it onto the cement because it will also stain the cement. Kind of just turn it upside down if you have to. But that pretty much does it for this DIY. It's again very simple. So let's take a look at the final result. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm kind of obsessed with those old vintage large bowls that have this patina to them. And of course, they can be very expensive. So let's try to make one from Dollar Tree. Now, my inspiration for this would be those restoration hardware bowls made out of paper mache that are kind of expensive for paper. But I know some people have done them and they look fantastic. So I'm going to try to make my own version using this bowl right here from like the Tupperware section. It has like a nice form to it. Of course, it's very flimsy, but that's all right. We're gonna make it work. I'm gonna do a paper mache technique, the one we use to make piñatas, which I've done before. And let me tell you, those piñatas turn out rock hard. And we're gonna do it for this as well. That one is not as messy or annoying as the blending the paper mache technique, which I don't really want to do for this one. And basically, we're gonna encase this bowl right here. We're gonna add a little like border to it, and then a little base or something. I don't know. I think it's gonna turn out great. So let's just go ahead and do it. Like I said, I'm going to make this bowl more interesting by adding a little base and some sort of border to the top. I'm going to use this not concrete, oh my god, I'm tired. This is cardboard. This is just some scrap cardboard that I have from some shipping boxes. I cut it to about 1 inch in thickness, actually less than an inch, probably like 3/4. And I'm just going to put it, like I said, on the edges here. Now, one thing that I will do with this is make it my life easier and just use hot glue. Now to get a perfect circle, I'm going to use this canister and place it in the center and basically just glue that cardboard to the bottom of the bowl. Pretty straightforward. Just make sure that you have enough glue on there so that it's not going to move around after you're working with it. I also glued some cardboard to the top edge of the bowls with some hot glue. Again, this will make it more interesting, give it a little bit more dimension. As you can see, the ones from Restoration Hardware, those kind of have that top edge and it really makes it look a lot more special. Now, if you haven't worked with paper mache before, it's pretty simple. The one I'm using is basically going to be like the one you use to make piñatas. Now, just get some scrap piece of paper. I prefer newspaper because it's easier to work with and it goes on nicer. Take some glue. I typically use glue all. Did not have any on hand, so I'm just going to use the Elmer's school glue. It's pretty fine. In terms of the water to glue ratio, I've seen a lot of recommendations. Some say like 1:3 or whatever. I just did 1:1 ratio, equal parts water, equal parts glue, and it ended up working just fine for me. Make sure you mix that really well. Get an old paintbrush or something like that and just apply it onto the bowl. And then just place that newspaper on top. I like to work in small sections and just work my way around the bowl. Now, I know what you're asking, Jorge, how many layers of this do I need to do? Well, you have to do about 3 or 2, I don't know, it doesn't really matter because really you already have the structure here from the bowl and the cardboard. This paper mache process is basically just to unify it all together and make it look like one singular piece. So really, you're not trying to get structure here, that's why I'm not that concerned. Now you don't have to wait for each layer to dry before applying the next, just put them all on there, it's fine, have fun. Now this does take a little bit of time, not that long, but I would say this is a good time to put on that movie you've been wanting to watch, or maybe that TV show. I was watching the new season of Handmaid's Tale, would highly recommend. Of course you want to let this dry fully before you paint. For me it was about 24 hours. Okay, so it's been about 24 hours and the bowl is now dry. I'm going to be painting it with some acrylic paint using the baking soda technique just to give it some more texture, make it feel like ceramic, and maybe blend in some of the seams of the newspaper here. If you have not done the baking soda technique already, you basically just put baking soda onto paint and it creates a little bit more texture. I'm using some white paint, some like nutmeg paint, some khaki, kind of just mixing it all together. And really there is no right or wrong way to do this. It's just paint until you get the look you want. I recommend starting off with the lightest color first, more on like the creamy side, and then slowly start adding more dimension by adding the darker paint. I even dabbed in a little bit of green and it really made it feel more authentic. Of course I added a little bit more brown and then I could have just stopped there, but I'm going to be extra and apply the dirt technique. Basically a little bit of water, a little bit of dirt, paint it on there and then dab it off with a paper towel until I get the look I want. It's totally not necessary, but it really took it to the next level. And then of course I would definitely let this dry and then apply like a sealant or protective finish, but that pretty much does it. So let's take a look at the final result. Alright, so that pretty much does it for today's video. I really want to know which one was your favorite. Comment down below, I would love to know. Also, if you haven't done so already, hit that like button, that would really help me out. Subscribe for more videos like this, hit that notification bell button. And again, thank you so much for watching. I will here put some other Dollar Tree DIY videos that I've done if you haven't checked those out already. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.